So now I'm going to talk about the plot holes, and this is where a lot of people are going to get butthurt. I can already feel it. People are going to get mad at me. But hey, these are plot holes, these are problems in the series, and I have to address them. So, I'm going to give you 5 plot holes. Now, there are more. Yes, probably there are more. But I'm just giving you 5 because it's a nice number, okay? And I'm giving you 5 that I have good reason to back up, so, you know. So yeah, here we go. Number 1. Danzo in the flashback of Kabuto. So, you guys know in that Kabuto fight, which I didn't like, he has a flashback and Danzo's in it and he has a bandage over his eye. And there's the problem. He has a bandage over his eye. Now people are like, well, that's his Sharingan. Well, here's the problem. The Uchiha massacre hadn't happened yet. So how does he have that eye? You know, he got it from Shishui, and it was right before the Uchiha massacre. And we know this because Itachi has a flashback and it shows him with only one eye right before that happened. So obviously he didn't pull it out like 3 or 4 years early and him just sit there with his eye bleeding. I mean, that's unrealistic. So that was a problem. Kishimoto, you made one plot hole right there. Alright? No real, you know, it was just a plot hole. It wasn't a big one, but it was a plot hole, nonetheless. Ruined the continuity a little bit. Number 2. If Madara Uchiha can break out of the Edo Tensei with hand signs, why didn't the second Hokage do this in part 1? When he got revived by Orochimaru. Now, some people will say, oh, well, he was with a tag, you know, Orochimaru stuck a tag in his head, he was against his will. Well, remember, before that fight began, him and the first Hokage were just sitting there talking. Yet, he doesn't do it. He doesn't undo the hand signs. He doesn't try to defeat Orochimaru with the third Hokage's help. He could have, you know, taken the first aside and been like, hey, here's the hand signs, let's go kill Orochimaru and save the ninja world. But no, they don't do that. They just stand there and talk. You know, I mean, what's the... Yeah, I don't get that. That's a plot hole for sure. That's a big plot hole, alright? Number 3, and this one again has to do with the first 2 Hokage. If the first Hokage is so strong, according to Madara Uchiha, he's like, you know, he's the god of Shinobi. He's like the strongest one ever. You know how he carried on. He's like, has a love interest in him or something. Whatever. Why is it then that the first was so easy to beat against the third Hokage? Now, again, people will blame the tags. They'll say, oh, well, Orochimaru, he just made the tags to where they were weaker. They were first day shinobi. To which I ask you, how stupid do you think Orochimaru is? You know, he's not going to bring back someone like the first Hokage and then make them weak. He's not going to do that. Now, I know the third Hokage is strong, but... I mean, if he's as strong as Madara Uchiha says he is, then that is a contradiction and a plot hole in general. You know, it doesn't make sense as to how he'd be so weak. I mean, the jutsu was perfected. Kabuto said this himself in Shippuden multiple times. Orochimaru perfected the jutsu, etc., etc. Yet, there's a problem with it. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Again, plot hole. Alright, now these last 2 are pretty big, so... these are going to be the really sensitive ones that people are going to get butthurt about, alright? Now, this first one, a lot of people have talked about, alright? And so, you guys already know where I'm going with this. The point of the Ninja War. And here's why I have a problem with this. Alright, so as you guys know, the whole point of the Ninja War for Toby was to gather the 8 and 9 tails, right? But yet, later on in the war, Toby says, oh, I never actually needed them. I only needed pieces of them. So let me just ask you, what was the whole point of this war? Because he already had the 8 tail, and the parts of the 9 tails he needed, the brothers, the Gold and Silver brothers, were right there in the cave for him to get before it even started. Now some people will say, oh, well, he didn't know that he had them. Really? Because him and Kabuto were standing right there when all of them flew out. Jumped out and were getting ready to battle. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. How would he not see them there? And, you know, he has Sharingan, so he can see chakra. He could see the 9 tails chakra flying off somewhere. And another problem with that theory is he didn't know. Then why would he go after the jar? He went out of his way to personally go there and get that jar back. And yet, he didn't know, as some people like to say. See, that doesn't make any sense. Because after he got that jar, he could have just ended the war right there. And Kabuto saw him with it, and he didn't care. Because some people are like, well, maybe Kabuto didn't want to give him the jar. Well, guess what? He showed him the jar right in front of his face, and he didn't care. So... essentially, what was the point? He could have just summoned it right there. No one would have caught him because look how long it took Itachi to catch Kabuto. So, no, he wouldn't have been caught. He would have been able to do it, achieve his perfect Tsukuyomi, whatever. It would have been all over. So, essentially, the 4th Great Ninja War was pointless. And here is plot hole number 5. Now, the reason why I'm showing you guys this instead of actually talking about it all the way through is because, well, this quote pretty much sums up why this is a complete and utter fail of continuity, and it's just a plot hole. And people don't believe me, so I repeatedly have to quote this. So this is why I'm showing you the quote, and now I'll actually explain why it's a huge plot hole. So as you guys see, Suigetsu clearly said that his arms were useless, but in Shippuden, Orochimaru has used his arms various times to use jutsu. He used it after he was released from Sasuke's body against Itachi, and he used it on Naruto when he was 4 Tails, used the summoning jutsu, and he's done various other things. So obviously this is a plot hole, and the whole reason for him switching bodies was to get his new arms, as you guys clearly know. So that's why this doesn't make any sense, and it's just inaccurate. Now, some people say, well, maybe this is Suigetsu's just own interpretation, maybe he's wrong. Well, that may be true, and it is possible, but here's the reason why I don't think it's true. And that's because Orochimaru was experimenting on Suigetsu while he still had his arms in Shippuden, because Sasuke was training with him and he saw Orochimaru with Suigetsu, and that was when he had his arms. So it doesn't make any sense. He had complete use of his arms, and now suddenly he doesn't. And even if, for some reason, that he didn't have his arms in Shippuden, he just, I don't know, that was a fake Orochimaru or something, then the Orochimaru brought back from Anko's curse mark would be the normal Orochimaru before the Reaper Death Seal was even put on him. Reason being, he gave Anko the curse mark way before Part 1 Naruto started, so that Orochimaru wouldn't even have the Reaper Death Seal on him. See what I'm saying? So really, no matter how you reason with this, it just doesn't make any sense. So that's essentially my thoughts on Naruto and why it's just, this whole thing has gotten on my nerves and it's just ridiculous. You know, I don't see how many reviewers, many of them that I see, don't see these and talk about them. I mean, I don't know if they're scared to say it or what, but I mean, you've got to talk about it. If you're going to review something, you've got to talk about the problems. So, you know, plot holes are a big problem. So I just, you know, I don't get why people don't talk about it, but whatever. You know, people are going to do what they want to do. So, and by the way, that little piece of manga I showed you was the Viz official translation. There was no translation error, so there you go. So yeah, that's all I had to talk about today, guys. Tell me below what your thoughts are, and I will see you guys later.